Hello everyone, welcome to Retro Encounter episode 346. My name is Jono Logan and I want to be a pirate.
My name is Mike Sollosi and I want to be a pirate.
My name's Hilary Andreff and I want to be a ghost pirate. Oh.
Ghost pirate, Andreff.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm hosting today. This is Jonathan Logan hosting, but don't worry, Sollosi is here too. And the reason why I'm hosting and we're all, going to be talking about this Secret of Monkey Island game is because it's Adventure Game Month here at Retro Encounter. And Sollosi has graciously given over a bunch of episodes to showcase, some of the greatest adventure games of all time and to give two of RPG fans' biggest adventure game buffs, Hilary and I, a chance to geek out hard on adventure games.
Yay.
As we do whenever we get together. I refer you to the random episode a few weeks ago about the art of point-and-click adventure games. That was so much fun.
And a really good book. So, yes, grab your adventuring caps.
Yeah. So to get started on this Adventure Game Month, we really went through like the history of adventure games and talked about what games we want to play and do we want like a CR game, do we want LucasArts, and we wanted to distill it down to different eras. And in the classic, the golden era, I guess you could say, of adventure games, I think that most people think of this one, The Secret of Monkey Island, as like, in my mind anyway, like the definitive adventure game of the era. It was the culmination of all of the development on the SCUM engine up to this point. It refined the LucasArts model of adventure game. It was the first one to do so many things. And I just adore this game. Hilary, what's your history with the series?
So I think we talked a little bit about this on the, Art of Point and Click episode, but when these games were being developed and originally released, I played primarily Sierra games, mostly. So I think Secret of Monkey Island was the only Monkey Island game I played back like in that era. And then I kind of checked out a couple of the others a little bit more recently, but didn't have a ton of time, so kind of put them aside. So Secret is the only one I finished, actually, but loved it. I have a lot of kind of background knowledge, I'd say, about LucasArts and about the series, just because I've been so interested in adventure games in general. So yeah.
Yeah, and Sollosi, how about you? Do you have any history with the series at all?
Basically zero. I was aware of the LucasArts and Sierra games during their heyday, a little bit after the fact. I sort of knew of them as PC games that were really funny and looked like real drawn-to-life cartoons. But I mostly knew of them through by reputation only. I got a couple of them on Steam or PSN more in the past, 10 years or so. But the only one I really played in that LucasArts catalog was Full Throttle, which I played most of with a friend on his PC in the mid '90s sometime.
That's
and
a good choice.
I thought I was quite entranced by it, and I didn't even remember the name of it until many years later, reading about the LucasArts catalog. And I did play Grim Fandango for the podcast some years ago. I think 2017, but I'd have to check the feed for that. So I know LucasArts games mostly by reputation. I have played a couple, but this is my first time making a sincere effort to play through Secret of Monkey Island.
Cool. My history with it is, I think I told this story on the Art of Point-and-Click Adventure Games episode. When I was a kid, I found like the treasure chest of LucasArts adventure games in a sales bin at Walmart. And but that collection didn't have Monkey Island. That collection, it was Day of the Tentacle, Fate of Atlantis, and Sam and Max. But that really got me interested in adventure games. Plus, I played Maniac Mansion on the NES as a kid. It was my favorite NES game. And then I saw like screenshots of The Curse of Monkey Island in video game magazines around this time, and the game just looked astoundingly good. The graphics were amazing. It was a cartoon come to life. You were playing a cartoon. And I picked it up and I absolutely loved the game, and that put me on the path to finding the first two games in the series, which was The Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2: LeChuck's Revenge. And I devoured them. I just adored the games. And yeah, it started a love affair with this series. So these are not necessarily foundational games for me, but there are games that I always identified with, partially because I kind of look a lot like Guybrush Threepwood. So like as a kid, I was like, he looks like me. I want to be a flooring inspector when I grow up. And yeah, so I think the games are great, and I think the first game is just about one of the greatest point and click adventure games ever made, which arguably is eclipsed by its sequel, but it's still a brilliant standalone game. And it's also it's a very, very important game in video game history. So a little bit about the history of Monkey Island is the game was developed between 1988 and 1990 by the legendary LucasArts point-and-click adventure game developers Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman. Tim Schafer also played a major role in this, and Tim Schafer went on to be the lead designer of games like Day of the Tentacle and Full Throttle, as a matter of fact.
And Grim Fandango.
And Grim Fandango, yes. But Ron Gilbert, who is the creator of Maniac Mansion, which is, I would argue, one of the most influential games in history. I mean, Ron Gilbert was the one who coined the phrase cutscene in Maniac Mansion. Like, it set the stage for not just the majority of other LucasArts adventure games, but also for really any game that had a narrative in it. But Monkey Island is where he really started to refine his ideas about where he wanted the gameplay for point-and-click adventure games to go. For example, he always hated in Sierra games being able to die. So this is the first game where you are incapable of dying unless you try really, really hard.
Uh-huh.
You can, if you try really hard, you can die, but it's a challenge. And also, I mean, Dave Grossman, who is one of the writers, he wrote a lot of the dialogue along with Tim Schafer, and I would consider him one of the greatest writers of point-and-click adventure games ever, like Secret of Monkey Island, Chuck's Revenge, Day of the Tentacle. So the game was really inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean, which was one of Ron Gilbert's favorite rides. So you can really feel that influence in the game. He kind of wanted it to be like, what if you could talk to the characters in Pirates of the Caribbean? And I mean, funny enough, now the Monkey Island series is actually owned by Disney. And there was a talk of a movie in the very late 90s, which I believe was canceled partially because of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So, I mean, in an alternate reality, we could have a Monkey Island movie franchise right now starring Johnny Depp as Guybrush Threepwood, which would be, yeah. Well, I mean, he was pretty good as that kind of character in Ed Wood, but
maybe Orlando Bloom would work slightly better.
Orlando Bloom would. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Orlando Bloom would have been a damn good Guybrush Threepwood.
Maybe Johnny Depp could play LeChuck.
Oh yeah,
and Orlando Bloom. We keep the cast of Pirates of the Caribbean, but shuffle it around a little bit. I
could see Keira Knightley being Elaine.
Yeah.
I nominate Martin Freeman as Bob the Ghost Pirate.
Yes.
Yeah. So Secret of Monkey Island was the fifth game to use the Scum engine. It brought several refinements to the engine as compared to games like Maniac Mansion or Loom. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever played a point-and-click adventure game, you definitely know what the deal is here. You combine a verb from the bottom menu with an item or hotspot on the screen. I mean, today it feels pretty obvious and pretty simplistic, but it was cutting-edge UI back in the 1990s. And then there was a remake of this game that released in 2009 that coincided with the then final entry of the series, Tales of Monkey Island, released by Telltale Studios. And this re-release had brand new illustrated graphics. It had a full orchestration of the score, which is fantastic because this game has the music's so damn good in this game. And it added voice acting from many of the actors who played the characters in the latter entries of the series, including Dominic Armato, who I think is still just the perfect Guybrush Threepwood. Like, whenever I close my eyes and imagine Guybrush, that's the voice I hear.
Yeah, that 2009 special edition is how I played the game over Steam. And the Scum engine, which I have done a little bit of research on over the years, it really it's like a modern adventure game or visual novel that I have played, but I think it's also like a bridge between text adventures and a classic adventure game, because of a text adventure having players enter their own verbs and actions, and then the game interpreting those. While with Scum condensing that a little bit and letting the players know what the verb toolkit is
Right.
Basically, it removes some of the powerlessness you feel when you're totally lost in a text adventure.
Yeah, and I mean the verb interface has gone through many iterations and refinements since then. Like in Full Throttle, Tim Schafer condensed the verb interface down into the verb coin, where you had like, I think it was talk, use, and kick, and that was used. Yeah, that's such a good game, and that was used also in Curse of Monkey Island and other games past that. The verb interface was used in actually Ron Gilbert's last before. Okay, well, Return to Monkey Island just got released, but his game before that was Thimbleweed Park, which was the central conceit of it was it's going to be like a lost LucasArts adventure game from around the same period as Maniac Mansion. So that uses verbs.
I did an E3 interview for Thimbleweed Park in 2016 or 2017, and it was it was great. And Ransom the Insult Clown is an early favorite character from that. But I haven't played it through to the end.
I mean, that's a candidate for a future episode of Retro Encounter, because it's not just, I mean, it's sort of retro now, but also it's such a throwback to those ages.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very deliberate throwback. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. It's very good. It's a very, very good game. Anyway, this remake not just introduced had like better graphics and things like that. It got rid of the verb and inventory interface at the very bottom of the screen. It's now full screen, and you can bring them up, the verbs and the inventory up as menus instead. This sometimes works. I found myself irritated by it more often than not. Like I really did miss the old interface.
There were some timed puzzles where it was just like, no.
Oh, damn, the grog puzzle.
Yeah, yep.
There were shortcuts that made it a lot easier. Like I to bring up inventory, V to bring up verbs, U to shortcut to use, P to shortcut to pick up. Pushing and pulling was still annoying, but but for the most part, the keyboard interface for the 2009 version of Monkey Island, it took some getting used to, but I figured it out, but I have to admit, a lot of the time my plan was to just do as well as I could on my own. But when I started to get frustrated, check a guide just so this game wouldn't take me 2 weeks to play.
Yep.
And I ended up checking a guide quite a bit, especially in chapter 3. But I got there. I sometimes really resent the opaqueness of adventure game logic, but I don't think this game is the worst the worst culprit of that. Not at all.
There's no goat puzzle.
Right.
There is one puzzle that we'll get to it, but there's one puzzle in this game that in this run through when I was playing it last week, I got stuck on and I couldn't remember it. And then when I eventually said, okay, I screw it. I need to know what it is. I looked it up, and instantly, not only did I remember, but I also remembered that's the exact same puzzle I really got stuck on. I think the first time I played it, and it gave me this like insane like moment of nostalgia and irritation. That it was that even after all these years, this one puzzle, my brain will not logic that way. And another really cool feature about the remake is that you can switch between the remake and the original on the fly. By pressing F10, and it just kind of the screen will zoom out and the old interface will appear at the bottom, and you'll have wonderful pixel graphics again. And to be completely honest, I think I almost would prefer to play the game this way, except that you can't play the original with the really, really great voice acting. I feel like if the original could have the voice acting, that's how I would have preferred to play the game, but it doesn't. So I played it in the remake style, which is fine. It's beautiful in some places.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's dive right into the narrative of Monkey Island. So I'm gonna walk us through the game. We're not going to spoil all the puzzles because A, that would ruin the game for listeners, and B, it would take many, many hours because there are some very intricate puzzles in this game. So we're gonna focus on the broad strokes and the best moments and things that really stuck with us. So the game opens with Part 1, The Three Trials. And Guybrush Threepwood arrives on Melee Island, and the very first words he speaks are the ones that we spoke at the beginning of this episode, which is, "My name is Guybrush Threepwood, and I want to be a pirate." And he says this to the lookout of Melee Island, and the lookout directs him down to the Scum Bar. And there he is told that in order to become a pirate, he needs to pass the 3 trials, which are thievery, swordplay, and treasure huntery. And you also learn about the ghost pirate LeChuck, who is an undead pirate who haunts the 7 seas. His base is on Monkey Island, and he is in love with the governor of Melee Island, Governor Marley. So the very first trial is, this is the order that I did them. You can do them in any order, and arguably you kind of do them all at the same time because, some puzzle solutions are on the path of others. The first one I did was thievery. So for thievery, you need to steal the idol of many hands from Governor Marley's mansion. So while you're exploring the island, you meet the ill-tempered sheriff Fester Shinetop, who takes an instant dislike to you. And you head up to the governor's mansion. You only to find it defended by a pack of deadly poodles, who you cannot get by unless you need to figure out a way to knock them or to put them out of the picture. So,
excuse me, it's
piranha poodles.
Yeah, it's
piranha poodles. Yes,
it's a pack of deadly piranha poodles.
And eventually, you figure out the way to do it is to drug them. Which gives you a nice little disclaimer saying, these dogs are not dead.
They are sleeping.
They are sleeping. Please don't get angry with us. So after you manage to knock them out, you enter the mansion and engage in this. I think it's one of the funniest damn cutscenes in the entire game.
Great.
Where you walk into a door, and rather than switch to a new screen, Guybrush, the game kind of takes over, and Guybrush ends up in this series of adventure game logic puzzles that you play no part in, where it's like use the file on the rhino toenails and use the gopher repellent on the herd of ravenous gophers. And
I think you have to hypnotise the rhino first.
Yes, and, you do, otherwise they'll trample you.
Yeah,
That's
and there's also a clown, an elephant, and those gophers. And but it all happens behind a closed door. And I am just reading this in horror and grateful that I don't have to figure these out myself.
Yep. Unfortunately, this is one of those puzzles that doesn't work as well in the remake. It works amazingly well it's not even a puzzle, it's a cutscene that works really well in the original, because you can actually see the items being added to your inventory and see the verb interface being used by the game. So it becomes this brilliant little parody of the entire point-and-click adventure game genre where you don't see anything. Anyway, so after you get your hands on the idol, you meet the governor, Elaine, and you are instantly tongue-tied by her beauty. And for some reason, she really seems to like you.
And by tongue-tied, we mean your dialogue options are things like...
Yeah. No, all of Guybrush's dialogue options in that conversation are stutters or nonsense. And remarkably, Governor Marley is interested in him despite his incredible lack of confidence.
She's like pretend offended at some of them. She's like, "Well, I guess you don't want to talk to me," but then she like continues talking to him later.
She just is very, very charmed by Guybrush Threepwood, who I imagine is a nice change of pace from the average pirate on the island.
I think she can tell that he is sincere and is trying and is a decent person, which is probably not her usual company on Melee Island. But it's still a pretty awesome set of non-dialogue to behold.
Mm-hmm. Well, after she walks away and Guybrush is embarrassed because he didn't say anything, he's intercepted by Sheriff Shinetop, who intends to kill you by throwing you into the ocean tied to the idol that you stole. This is arguably the funniest puzzle in the game because Guybrush can hold his breath for 10 minutes. So within 10 minutes, you need to figure out some way to get free of the idol. And there are dozens of cutting implements just out of reach. So how can you get away?
Oh my God.
I'm not going to spoil the solution to this puzzle, but it's one of those moments where
you can spoil it. We spoil everything on this podcast.
Okay, it's brilliant, which is it's a little tiny idol, so you just pick it up, put it in your pocket, and walk away.
You put it in your inventory, and it's no longer restricting you.
It's really friggin' funny, and it's the one moment in the game where if you really want to try hard to kill yourself, you just wait 10 minutes, and Guybrush will die.
But in the very beginning of the game, Guybrush does tell the lookout
I
can hold my breath for 10 whole minutes. Like it's his special talent. So I'm glad that did factor into the story at one point.
Yeah, the continuity is just, I don't know. I'm impressed by it. Like looking at this game again.
Mm-hmm. So right after you come out, you run into Elaine, who has come to save you, and the two of you instantly fall in love with some really great romantic dialogue, including you calling her Plunder Bunny, which is just amazing.
I wish I had done the thievery trial first. It was the last of the 3 I did, and
so you missed the cutscene.
I missed that cutscene. What happened was I done swordplay, then treasure huntery,
Yep.
and then this. And then this one. And so what happens is when I pick up the idol and get back onto the dock, I see what's his name?
LeChuck's ghost ship.
Yeah, LeChuck's ship sailing away, and I'm told that Governor Marley had been captured.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because it's a very funny scene and sort of sets up their relationship. It's a weird, I think it's an oversight in terms, I think it's a bug, sort of, but it's there. Anyway, so if you have that scene, though, you are left being highly motivated to complete the other 2 trials as fast as possible and get to the mansion as fast as possible. So yeah, that's the thievery section, and I mean, I think it's a great series of puzzles. It's great. It introduces Elaine, who is an awesome character in every single Monkey Island. Elaine is an awesome character. Their introduction is hysterically funny, and the parody of point-and-click adventure games is just brilliant.
And this is the section that really like gets some of that meta commentary, like meta jokes,
which is something that Monkey Island is known for. It's the combination that while it's taking place in the late 17th century, it's also commenting on our modern world, and with lots of references to things that do not exist in the 17th century.
Oh boy, yes, such as Stan, who we'll get to later.
Yeah, it's almost like everyone knows they're in a video game of some kind.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. I just love this. I just love this because it has two of the most. It has the background puzzle parody and the drowning puzzle are 2 of my favorite all-time adventure game puzzles. They're just really friggin' funny.
Right, back to back. So it's
a great sequence. Anyway, so yeah, that was the first trial. The second trial is also iconic, and that is the swordplay trial. So to beat this trial, you need to beat the sword master on the island. But first you need to find her. So you have no idea where she is. She's in the forest somewhere. So you can, you find out that the only person on the island who knows where she lives is the shopkeeper. So you can ask the shopkeeper to challenge her to a duel for you, and she will always say no, but you can follow the shopkeeper to her secret hideout. And then she will not fight you unless you train first. So you have to go to Captain Smirk and learn the secret of sword fighting, which is your wit. And this introduces one of the most iconic concepts from this game and one of the funniest concepts in video game history, which is insult sword fighting.
Yeah, this was a peak for the game for me, a very frustrating peak, because I don't know if you knew this, but if you lose against the sword master, she goes back into the hut and you have to find her again. And I didn't want to memorize the path, so I kept bothering the shopkeeper to show me the way. And it took me 3 tries to beat her.
Oh no!
Because she defeated me twice in a row. I didn't have enough responses. But the way this goes is you learn a couple insults from Captain Smirk. Then you have to challenge other pirates around Melee Island.
Yeah, he tells you you're not good. You need to go learn more.
Yeah, but you can't. You only learn the first half of an insult from the randos around. Like you can mimic insults you've heard them say, but you have to hear a different one say the response if you don't already know the response to
you have to learn both the insults themselves and the proper responses, and you can only get one or the other per battle typically.
Correct. So like this is kind of like grinding for blue magic in a Final Fantasy game, except much more intricate. And the best part of it all is once you have a repertoire of insults and responses, you can challenge the Swordmaster, and she has an entire set of 16 different insults. But each one of them has a corresponding response from the responses of the first set of insults. Yep. So you learn 16 insults and responses, and you use the responses from those 16 to counter the Swordmaster's new 16. And I didn't check any guides for this other than that I knew that there were 16 total. And I tried once having only 8 and she kicked my tried once where I had 10 and she used 5 of the exact ones I didn't have. Oh no. and then I tried again when I had I think 12 or 13 and and I finally defeated Carla the Swordmaster. But
Mhm.
I was pretty impressed with the system. It is super, super smart, and it's a puzzle that's almost entirely dialogue, but only really fits in a video game, and especially perfectly into a adventure game, or maybe it could have worked in a text adventure game. But it's so witty and clever, and I'm not sure I've seen anything like it in a game since. And this is a 1990 title, so
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing. I want an entire game that's just insult
sword fighting. I mean, when you think about the game, that is usually one of the first things you think of. And I love Carla. Like, I don't know, like as a side character, I don't know.
Oh, she's a great side character. Yeah, like for example, just illustrating what Sollosi said about Carla. So I would argue the most famous insult from the game is, "You fight like a dairy farmer."
How appropriate! You fight like a cow.
Yes, exactly. But Carla might say, "I will milk every drop of blood from your body." To which you can respond with, "Well, how appropriate! You fight like a cow."
Yep.
They're not always perfectly intuitive, but they did a pretty good job, especially with the idea that they were trying to execute.
Yeah, they're close. So anyway, you challenge the Swordmaster to a fight. She has her own unique insults, and you beat her. And upon beating her, you get a T-shirt that says, "I beat the Swordmaster of Monkey Island, and all I got is this stupid T-shirt." Just before we move on, I'm curious, what are your favorite insults?
Oh, geez. I can tell you the one that I didn't like was the diaper one. I was like, that is a weak response.
Why? Do you want to borrow one?
Yeah. I mean, that implies that you also wear diapers. Just, nah.
I mean, it is Guybrush.
Some of the others are so good, though.
I know. I think my favorite is the old one. "Soon you'll be wearing my sword like a shish kebab."
Shish kebab.
Well, first you better stop waving it around like a feather duster.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, how about you have the manners of a beggar? Well, I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's really good. This mechanic comes back in The Curse of Monkey Island with rhyming insults, but they're never quite as clever as these. Some of these are just classic lines from a iconic adventure game.
I think my favorite is, "You're no match for my brains, you poor fool," and the comeback is, "I'd be in real trouble if you ever used them." But then when you fight Carla, her version of that is, "I am unmatched in skill and wit," and then the same comeback is, "Well, I'd be in real trouble if you ever use them." Mm-hmm. So it's like that. That's the kind of dichotomy you're working with here.
Yeah, exactly. "No one's ever drawn blood from me, and nobody ever will." You run that
fast?
And these, like a lot of these, have become running jokes in the entire series, for good reason. Apparently, Orson Scott Card came up with most of these insults. The writer for Ender's Game, and who is a very problematic figure. But some of these insults are very good. So yeah, upon beating her, you get the T-shirt, and then you can move on to Treasure Huntery, which I would argue is one of the... If you've completed the other two trials, this one is pretty easy to do, because a lot of the puzzles you probably figured out along the way. So for Treasure Huntery, like most treasure hunts, you need a map, and you need a shovel, and you need money to buy both the map and the shovel. So you can, not spoiling the solution, but you can get a part-time job at the circus to get some money to buy the map and shovel. And then you go to the woods, and you follow the quote-unquote map to find an X in the woods. You dig there, and you get the lost treasure of Melee Island. That's a T-shirt. Of course it is.
Yeah, I think they were taking I did such and such, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt, like 90s The Far Side joke. They worked it out as much as they could.
No, they're going to work it out a little bit further than that, believe it or not, if you keep playing. It's a long-running joke that it's... In this series, the long-running joke is whatever you think the reward is, it's always going to be considerably more underwhelming than what it actually is. So yeah, you get the T-shirt. And then if you get the T-shirt, we then go to what Sollosi ended up seeing a little bit earlier, which is you return to the pirate leaders to become a pirate, and you see LeChuck's ship sailing off on the horizon and vanishing. And upon going to the scum bar is now completely empty of pirates except for the crying cook. And the cook tells you that Elaine has been kidnapped by LeChuck, and you decide that you have to go off and you need to rescue her. So you need to get a ship and a crew and figure out the way to Monkey Island. And and this is the last part of part 1. So the first crew member you need to get is Otis, who is a man of low moral repute in the jail. So you need to figure out a way to break him out. And this is the timing puzzle that we said is really kind of tricky if you're not using the original interface, which is...
This was the hardest puzzle for me, at least for most of the game, until later on in Chapter 3, because you have to realize that grog can burn through a metal padlock. Then you have to get some grog from a not easy to see nozzle in the kitchen, and have it switch and have it the grog transfer from one mug to the other, so none of your mugs melt from the caustic grog.
Yep.
And it is a little complicated. It's like press I for the inventory, then use mug on an empty mug to transfer the grog. And I had to do it twice, but I managed to do it on my second attempt.
Yep. Same.
It's much easier in classic mode. Not that it's easy, but the actual mechanics of it are easier.
I like the little graphic that they give you in the remake mode, though. So you can see just how much the grog is melting your mug.
Yep. And then you break Otis out, and then he's like, he delivers another classic Monkey Island line, which is, "Oh, I'd love to join your, oh, look, it's a 3-headed monkey." And you turn around, and then Otis runs off. And you're like, curses. Then you need to convince Carla, the sword master, to come with you, which is really easy. You just ask her, and she just says, "Yep, I'll come along." So one's great.
That was the 4th or 5th time I had to bug the shopkeeper to show me the way to her house.
No.
You don't need to, though. The house is already...
know.
Oh, you know now. Okay.
I know now. I didn't know then.
It's, to be fair, it's kind of hard to see some of the landmarks on the maps sometimes.
Yeah, okay, that's a big pain in the butt right there. I can't believe that you 4 times had to ask the shopkeeper for help.
Well, I did a 5th time as well, but that was just to lure him out of the house to get the writ. But we can go into that in a second.
Yeah, and then the third person is Meat Hook, who is a pirate that has a talking tattoo on an island. To get him, you are going to need what is arguably one of the most iconic Monkey Island inventory items, which is the rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle.
Because the voodoo lady just thinks that this is an extremely useful thing that she gives out, I guess.
And it is.
Yep.
Or it turns out to be. He's on an island just off Melee Island, and to get to it, you need to use it on a rope bridge to get to the other side.
There's like a chicken crossing the chasm joke there somewhere.
Yeah, have the chicken cross the chasm with a pulley. And then you have to prove to him that you are a brave pirate, and you do it in a ridiculous way.
Can we spoil that a little bit?
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. So the awful, terrifying creature that Meat Hook, the pirate with 2 hook hands, was terrified to face a second time, is in fact a parrot.
And a fairly nice parrot, too.
It seems like a perfectly chill parrot that is not a horrendous man-eating monster that Meat Hook thinks it is.
Right. As someone whose family has owned parrots, though, I can tell you that brought an extra layer of depth to that joke.
Oh, I've never owned a parrot, but I have been in a situation where I was terrorized by a parrot for like a week.
Oh no!
I was doing a show in Barrie, Ontario, and I was put up by a lovely family there, and absolutely lovely house. I knew the son really well. And they had a parrot who had free run of the entire house. Couldn't fly, just had free run of the house, could run around everywhere. And this parrot hates anyone who wasn't this woman's son, and hated me in particular.
Oh, no.
So whenever I would be on the ground floor, which is where the kitchen and the entrance was, the parrot would chase me. And normally this was a pain in the butt, but it'd be even worse when I would get in at like 1:00 in the morning from doing the show, and the entire house would be dark, and it was hardwood floors. So I'd like open the door, and all I would hear is like just like clicking on the hardwood floor as this parrot was running at me. And I would have to climb the stairs as fast as possible because it couldn't climb the stairs. So for a full week, I was just terrorized by this parrot.
It sounds like Budget Jurassic Park or something.
A little bit.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I think
they're
that
dinosaurs.
I think that like yeah, exactly. Secretly, like chickens and parrots are very rude animals, and it's because deep down they remember that they used to be dinosaurs and they haven't quite gotten over their current
I like that idea.
their current evolutionary circumstances.
It's like a cat still thinking it's a tiger. Anyway, so you get Meat Hook on your crew, and you have all three of them. Now you just need a ship, and this leads to one of the most iconic locations in the game, which is Stan's used ships. And Stan is a used ship salesman, which is he's a used car salesman, and fast talker, slick, always trying to rip you off, get as much money as possible. He's a hilarious character. It's one of the funniest visual jokes in the thing, which is the pattern on his jacket, which is that's like a plaid pattern.
Oh yeah, it's fixed, and so it sort of doesn't move as he moves, which is visually a little jarring.
Yeah, it's the layer of graphics, and there's just like a hole where his jacket is, and you just see like the background instead. It's a great joke. It's a great look. Anyway, you discover that he has the legendary Sea Monkey, which is the only ship that has ever been to Monkey Island and back, which was crewed by a crew of monkeys, and no humans. It was just crewed by monkeys. So you need to buy this ship. You don't have enough money. You need to, basically commit fraud. You need to get the shopkeeper out of his... First, you need to figure out the shopkeeper's combination to his safe. Then you need to get him out of his shop by asking him about the Swordmaster again. And then you can get a line of credit from the safe.
Look,
and then,
I tried to tell him that I got a job with the Fettuccine Brothers, but he wouldn't believe me.
No, he kept asking whether or not I was, what were their names? Something in Bob, I think.
I think, wasn't it like Alfredo and Bob, or Alfredo and Dave or something? But it's
an easy but funny joke. Anyway, after you haggle with Stan for a while about the price, which is another really good dialogue puzzle where you need to actually learn how to haggle properly with a used car salesman.
Oh God, that was like peak awful 90s joke.
Yeah. You have to remove the extra frills that he's offering on the boat, and then and then attempt to walk away from the sale to have him go down to the value of the line of credit that you got from the shopkeeper.
Yep.
That you stole from the shopkeeper, I should mention.
Yes, you stole from the shopkeeper.
Did anyone try to steal from the shopkeeper at the beginning, like the sword or the shovel?
Yeah, and then he just shows up again.
Yep. I unintentionally did. I was doing the typical oh, what can I take in here?
I mean, that is if this was a Sierra game, it would have been Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Death right there. Like the shopkeeper just would have zapped you and you'd be dead.
Or if it was Quest for Glory, you would have just been in jail and not been able to become a pirate because you were in jail.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, then you have your ship, which is a piece of garbage. You have your crew, and you sail off to Monkey Island, sort of. And this ends our adventure on Melee Island. And I would argue that this is about the first half of the game.
Yeah.
The chapter 1 is about as long as the chapters 2 through 4 put together.
Yep. Yeah. I was watching the completion percentage, and it's at least 40-something% before you get out of this section.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to do on Melee Island. And I mean, we've only scratched the surface. There's a lot of really, really great characters on the island. There's the Voodoo Lady, who is an iconic character who is in every single entry of the series, who, quote unquote, helps Guybrush, but more often than not doesn't, just gives him hints essentially about what he needs to do, but not like hints on how to solve puzzles or anything, just like hints on your next step. Who else is on there? There's the Men of Low Morals Repute, I think. There are like 3 pirates who are just like on the side of the road who claim to be starting a circus, but their elephant got scared off by a rat.
Yep. And then there's the shady map guy.
The shady map guy. Salesman. We talked about Captain Smirk and the Voodoo Lady.
Yeah.
There's one thing that we glossed over a little bit. Shinetop, the sheriff, isn't really a Shinetop the sheriff. He's been LeChuck in disguise all along, keeping an eye on Melee Island.
Yep.
I should have seen that coming because their voices are similar, but that was still a nice surprise for me.
Well, if it were a Sierra game, he'd have like a gold glinting eye or something to clue you in, but
Yes, this is I would not call Monkey Island subtle, but
we can't have the surprise twists of Freddy Farkas, Frontier Pharmacist.
I just think that's funny because that's one of the times where Sierra very much completely does make that twist. I'm doing air quotes, obvious in King's Quest 6. But anyway.
I mean, I suspect that throughout the run of these episodes, we might get into a bit of a conversation about the differences between Sierra and LucasArts adventure games.
Yep.
I've always been, I mean, I know that you were Sierra growing up. I've been a LucasArts kid. It's the Pepsi and Coke, the Nintendo and Sega, like rivalry kind of thing. Which one is better? Where they're both pretty awesome, but it just kind of falls down to taste and brand loyalty.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I have played both. I like both.
Yeah, I like both too. I just find LucasArts adventure games a lot less frustrating because they've removed the death mechanic.
Unquestionably, LucasArts games are easier to play.
That being said, there are some funny moments where in Sierra games you can, die by hilarious means.
Yep.
Which are jokes in and of themselves. But I mean, LucasArts adventure games sort of do that, including the Monkey Island games. Like there's a brilliant joke in The Curse of Monkey Island where you have to die in order to progress in the game. Anyway, so let's move on to part 2, which is The Journey. Really, really short little chapter. So you're on your way to Monkey Island, but your crew quickly mutinies and wants nothing to do with you or the quest. They just want to sunbathe. So it's up to you to get to Monkey Island. You find the ship's old log, and inside it says that the map that they were given was actually a recipe, which was ridiculous. And the first mate eventually cooks a soup, and then the captain and first mate they wake up on Monkey Island, just off Monkey Island. So you must collect ingredients from around the ship or reasonable substitutions to make the soup. And then once you make the soup, you pass out, and then you wake up a few days later. And Monkey Island is just outside. And then you need to figure out how to get to the ship from the ship to the island. And I'm just going to say that your work experience at the circus prepared you for this puzzle.
Yeah, sure did.
I was a little bit stuck on this until I realized I had to take a pot and use it as a helmet again.
Yeah.
And then you went, again?
Yeah, it's a nice little moment of continuity there, though.
And also, to finish that puzzle, you have to get prepared and click on the tip of the cannon before the fuse goes out, which took me a couple tries.
That took me a couple tries too, because I forgot that the like tip of the cannon was a separate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fuse end of the cannon and the nozzle end of the cannon are separate clickables, which I had to figure out. There was a learning curve.
Yeah, that's a classic pixel hunting adventure game problem, it was a major problem back then. It was, hot spots were hard to see sometimes and not all that intuitive. That being said, I like these puzzles because it's a confined space, unlike Melee, which was there are tons and tons of locations where you need to collect things. On the ship, there's the deck, the kitchen, the bedroom, and the hold.
And the captain's quarters, yeah.
And the captain quarters. So there's only 5 locations. There's also the crow's nest. So there's 6 locations, 6 screens where you can be on. So it really does limit the environment, so you know that everything you need to get off this ship and get to Monkey Island is within these 6 rooms. So it's a nice, and for me anyway, it's a nice change of gameplay from the expansive nature of the island. But then you, after you fire yourself off in the cannon, you find yourself in another expansive environment, which is another island, but is considerably less populated than Melee, which is Monkey Island. Mm-hmm. So when you're on the island, you meet some of the citizens. Herman Toothrot, who is a hermit who was the first mate of the Sea Monkey many years ago and was stranded on the island.
Right, and the one who cooked the soup.
And the one who trained a crew of monkeys to sail the good ship Sea Monkey back to Melee. But he did not want to be on that ship because he didn't want to be in a ship full of monkeys. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, he devised a perfect means for getting back to Melee Island and then didn't do it because monkeys are smelly, which is a choice.
I mean, I sort of see where he's coming from. They are smelly. There are also the cannibals on the island who are actually trying to cut meat out of their diets for health reasons. And there is a single solitary monkey on the island. Best
character in the game. The incredibly loyal friend. He will hang on that switch for the entire rest of the game, even if the rest of the actions you need to take hours.
Rest of the game? Try rest of the series.
Oh no!
Oh no! Do you go back there in the 2009 Telltale game and he's still hanging from that switch, just chilling?
It's a joke and curse.
What a good monkey!
Yeah, it was a very good monkey. And there's a number of locations around the island, including the cannibal village. The most iconic location on the island is the second biggest monkey head you've ever seen. which is exactly what it sounds
Right,
like.
the eponymous monkey.
And LeChuck's lair is inside the monkey head, so you need to figure out a way in. Herman Toothrot, turns out he has the key to the monkey head. He stole it from the cannibals because they will not return his banana picker. So you need to get the banana picker from the cannibals, preferably without being eaten. And you also need some, to make friends with the monkey, you need a whole bunch of bananas. So you steal bananas from the village, and they catch you, and you're captured, and you must escape, and then learn how to gain the forgiveness of the cannibals for then stealing their bananas.
And but to get some of the other bananas, you have to smash the banana tree near the beach where you landed. And to do that, you need to find the catapult that's at the top of a mountain and aim it so it's pointed at the tree and not your ship.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, you can destroy your ship, which Guybrush feels slightly guilty about, probably less guilty than if there wasn't a mutiny.
Right.
This was a part of the game where I got a little stuck. Like I had found the oars and found the rope and found a lot of the things I needed in the island, and I did get captured by the cannibals and get out again. But I didn't know about to get the last two bananas about the
right.
catapult. So and I didn't know that you had to use the push and pull verbs on the catapult to adjust the aim. So I looked it up and it told me what to do, and thankfully I got it right the first time because I was following a guide at that point.
I did destroy my ship, but then that actually kind of reminded me, like, oh, I have to aim this thing right. I remember this now.
It's a great joke because it's a moment where it doesn't really change anything, but it does change a cutscene where if you destroy the ship later when you need to get off Monkey Island, you're going to get a cutscene between one of the ghost pirates and Herman Toothrot, and Herman's like, "Hey, I have a ship." And you're like, if you have a ship, why are you stranded on the island? And he's like, because I was stranded. I can't just take my own ship. That defeats the whole purpose of being a castaway, stranded. Anyway, it's a funny joke. But if you didn't destroy your ship, then your crew shows up and they turn out they know the ghost pirate and you all go back together.
Oh, this section also contains probably the biggest Sierra joke in the entire game, which is in that area near at the top of the hill. Near the top part of the catapult. If you walk to the far section of cliff, right along the edge, part of the cliff will fall away and Guybrush will fall. And you will get a Sierra style, like, oh no, you totally messed up. I hope you saved your game. And it gives you the, restore, quit options in kind of the Sierra text style. But then Guybrush bounces back up and he just says, rubber tree. And you just go on your way.
This is... It's a tiny spoiler, but there is a payoff to that joke in Return to Monkey Island. That's a great one.
I'm excited.
It's a great payoff to that joke.
A 32-year setup and payoff.
Honestly, that basically sums up Return to Monkey Island. Like, there's so many payoffs in that game. It's great. I'll talk about it just at the very end, briefly. Anyway, so after you have to get forgiveness from the cannibals, and the way you do so is you go to the monkey head and you steal one of the little idols that are in front of the monkey head that they put there, and you claim it as your own, and you give it back to them, and they say, wow, thanks, this is a really, really cool idol. It even has my name on it. And then you also discover that they have the ability to destroy ghosts, and it is by using a special, very rare voodoo root that they distill into a special elixir. But the problem is it was stolen by LeChuck. So now not only do you need to get Elaine back, but you also need to get the voodoo root to create this elixir in order to destroy the ghosts. So anyway, long story short, you have their friendship, you get back the banana picker, you can give it to Herman Toothrot, who then gives you a giant Q-tip. It's vitally important at this point that we accept you should never, ever stick a Q-tip into your ear, audience. This is... You do not do it. This is very, very dangerous. You can deafen yourself. They are for out-of-ear use only.
There are earwax draining and extracting kits that you can find that are much better than Q-tips.
At no point do any of us here at RPG Fan or Retro Encounter advocate putting a Q-tip into your ear. Anyway, you shove the Q-tip into the monkey's ear and wiggle it around and it opens its mouth. So it's the key. You unlock the giant monkey head and you find yourself in hell, and it's a maze. So then you need to figure out a way to navigate this maze, and the secret is that the cannibals have the shrunken head of a navigator, you need to get it through a series of you give them some literature you got earlier in the game, random inventory puzzle, which is a good one. It's a funny joke where it's how to get ahead in navigation, and you give them this pamphlet, and they're like, "Hey, this will tell us how to get a new head. We can give them our old one." Terrible,
nice
but funny.
Pun.
Yep.
I hope you don't mind me saying, but the Q-tip thing actually reminded me of a small ridiculous thing in the first Quest for Glory game, I think, where if you're the thief class, you get lockpicks and you can actually use them on your nose. But it causes a death scene. Or there's a chance you will make yourself hemorrhage if your lockpicking skill is not high enough.
I got this scar on my face during a mighty struggle. I hope you've learned to stop picking your nose.
Exactly.
I wish there was a way to do that in the Elder Scrolls games. Like if you use a lockpick on yourself, you lockpick your nose, and if your lockpicking skill is too low, you can damage or kill yourself. That seems like a missed opportunity.
It's a good gag.
Anyway, once you get the navigator's head, you can then navigate through hell by looking at which way this navigator's head is looking. Then you have to get the navigator's head's necklace of eyes that will make you invisible to the ghosts, and you will find the ghost ship.
I think this is my favorite puzzle sequence in the game because it made a little bit more sense to me than melting through a padlock with grog, and it wasn't a huge space to navigate in, so there was a little bit of backtracking, but nothing obnoxious.
No, it's very similar to the puzzle sequence on the Sea Monkey.
Yeah, and I sort of like this one more than the one in the Sea Monkey, but there's a lot of like pirate chicanery and sneaking around. That was fun, but I have to admit I did not know to use the compass on the wall, on the key in the wall.
That's it. Yeah,
that was such a weird callback. The compass is a magnetic compass that.
It's a one-off joke.
Yeah, it's a one-off joke that Stan, the used ship salesman, gives you as a trinket, but it's the way to get the key off the wall without distracting LeChuck.
I was so proud of myself because I did get it because I looked at my inventory frequently and I noticed the warning contains a strong magnet that will interfere with navigational equipment. So I was like, okay, I need to use this somewhere.
Hilary did it the real way. I'm not as smart as cool as you.
Oh no. I've played it before, so that probably factored into it too. But
I've played it several times before, and I still forgot the solution to this stupid puzzle. This is the one where I got the solution, and then immediately was like, this is where I got stuck the first time I played the game, damn it. I didn't go to a walkthrough. I used the hint system. Oh yeah, the 2009 version has a fairly robust hint system.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, the hint was like, how are you going to get to the key without actually touching it? And I was like, how do you get to a key with it? Well, if I had a no. Yeah. Anyway, after a series of events, you manage to get the root. You take it to the cannibals. They give you a seltzer bottle full of a fizzy mix with the root. And then you go to return to the ship to kick butt, and you discover that it's gone. And in fact, LeChuck has taken the ship with Elaine back to Melee Island to get married to Elaine. Then this cutscene again differs depending on your choices, whether or not you accidentally stranded your crew on Monkey Island or not. And then you head back to Melee Island, a smaller version of Melee Island, I guess you could say, because there's not as many locations in this version. And then there's the last part, which is Guybrush Kicks Butt. Which is the shortest part of the game, but probably one of the most action-packed.
I just want to say really quickly before we move on, if that's okay.
Please.
Really, really appreciated the way LeChuck and the Ghost Pirates looked like in the remake version. I don't know. I just really like their design. I love the skeleton crew hanging around playing music. The music in that section, I know we said the soundtrack was good, but the Ghost Pirate music was awesome.
Yep. I think it's hilarious too that all of the animals on the ship, like the dogs, the chickens, the pigs,
farm.
The rats, they're all ghosts.
Yes.
Yeah, you managed to kill a ghost rat, or I guess kill it twice by feeding it. Yeah, by feeding it some of the grog from the pirates, which you need to.
You don't kill anything. The rat is unconscious. So
okay. All right. Yeah, I forgot.
Did we not learn our lesson from the piranha poodles?
Right. Yeah. No animals are harmed in the making of this game. I forgot. I thought that you had managed to kill a ghost twice without use of the let's say the carbonated root based beverage.
Mm-hmm. which is a great joke. Again, this becomes a running joke throughout the entire series, which is pretty damn funny. Is there anything either of you would like to say about your adventure on Monkey Island before we move on to Guybrush Kicks Butt?
I thought parts of it were fun. I really liked the civilized cannibals, and I didn't mind the trading parts of it. But my favorite was the end with navigating the cave with the navigator head and solving the puzzle in the ghost pirate ship.
Can I have your necklace? No, but thanks for asking politely. Sorry.
Then you have to say please. What was it, like 4 times? But the
or no, you can also threaten to drop kick him into the lava.
Oh, what? No, I just said please over and over.
If you threaten to drop kick him into the lava, he's like, okay.
But I thought I liked this chapter, but the parts where you're figuring out what to do in the different sites in the jungle got a little tiresome because you walk around the world map so slowly.
Yeah, and eventually you get a rowboat and you have to go around the entire island to get to the cannibals village, and it's a little awkward. It would have been nice if there could have been a shortcut that opened up when you got to the other side.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Like the one to the Swordmaster's house that I didn't know about until after I beat the game.
That one.
Yep, just like that shortcut.
Let's see. I enjoyed offering everything in my inventory to the monkey.
Yeah, to make friends.
Yes. Also, I forgot that it was exactly 5 bananas for him. So I got a little impatient. It's like, how many
it's
more?
2 bananas in the tree, 2 bananas from the village, and where was the last banana?
The first one is actually just on the beach when you
it's just on the beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to give him all 4, otherwise he'll only follow you a very short distance unless you give him all of the bananas, in which case he'll follow you to the ends of the earth and beyond. Anyway, so we get back to Melee Island. As soon as Guybrush arrives on Melee Island, he's confronted by a ghost pirate, and you can dispatch him with your carbonated root-based beverage. Then you run into another one, and there's an easiest puzzle solution in the game. Let's just call it root beer for fun. You get to the church to save Elaine, only to discover that she has already rescued herself, because realistically speaking, Elaine is a much, much, much more capable hero and pirate and generally human being than you are as Guybrush. And in fact, it turns out that you showing up screwed up her plan, and there's a bride next to LeChuck, and you're like, well, if you're here, who's that? And the gown gets thrown aside, and it's 2 monkeys holding a jug of root beer. And they run off, and Elaine's like, darn it, Guybrush, I have to get the root beer back. And you are left alone with LeChuck, who is very angry with you, and will literally punch you across the island, sending your root beer flying.
Yeah, he shoryukens you minimum of 3 times around different sites along the island. And I think the final puzzle of the game is like seeing the root beer on the ground, and while he's winding up his next uppercut, you have to grab the root beer, use the root beer, apply the root beer to LeChuck. It
turns out that it's not that rare a root, it's just root beer in general will kill ghosts, which is a great joke.
Yeah, I think the voodoo ghost killing root is just sassafras. So it's yeah, you just need a classically mixed root beer is the key anti-ingredient for all ghosts and zombies.
Which I guess means birch beer won't work?
Probably not.
You know, if birch beer is easier to obtain, bring along proper root beer anyway, just in case. Just in case. Yeah, just in case.
Yep. The joke is that there's a grog machine, which looks like a Coke vending machine at Stan's used ships.
Yep.
And you get punched through it. You land in it, and it knocks out a can. And then you can shake the can up and spray LeChuck, who then explodes several times. And then you are left watching the fireworks by the dock with your love, Elaine. And the end. And that is the end of The Secret of Monkey Island. Did you guys get stuck on the last part? Like, this is the kind of thing, like, once you know the solution to the ending, it's not challenging at all. It's pick up root beer, spray LeChuck.
The timing messed me up. I think I had to do it twice. Just, I don't know. I don't know if I was tired or what, but yeah, a little.
I managed to do it for the first time, but to be fair, when way earlier in the game, when we were talking to Stan to get the boat, I had noticed that vending machine with that says grog in the Coca-Cola script on it, and then when I was trying to find the grog for the mugs to melt the padlock, I went there first. I thought I could get grog from the Coca grog machine, which didn't work. But so I was. It was very clear to me the soda bottle popping out of the vending machine, and as RPG fans number one connoisseur of vending machines, I was very very aware of it.
Yay!
Listeners, for those of you that don't know, I wrote a feature about vending machines in RPGs a few years ago, and I'm still extremely proud of it.
It will be linked to in the show notes. So that is the end of The Secret of Monkey Island. I mean, I love this game. I think it's brilliantly written. I think it has some of the best puzzles in adventure game history. Because they're not just like really good inventory puzzles, but there's also some great dialogue puzzles, some great like observation puzzles. It's just a really, really well-balanced game. And the fact there is no way to kill yourself unless you really, really want to means that if you get stuck somewhere, it can be frustrating, but you know there's a solution. You know there's a solution somewhere. So I find it difficult to lose motivation to complete this kind of game, especially when the puzzles are as funny as this. Hilary, what were your thoughts about the game? Was there anything that bugged you or anything that you particularly loved about it?
I have good things to say, honestly, overall. I mean, having played it before, I know it's a really, really special game and I still adore it. I honestly, the thing that struck me most was the variety of the puzzles, because a lot of times when you do think of, graphic adventures or like point and clicks, things like that, you think of inventory object puzzles. So seeing one, from this era early on, I guess you could say kind of in their trajectory and their development with this cool variety of puzzles with dialogue, some callbacks to earlier puzzles, and to see everything just kind of laid out so that it wasn't super frustrating. If you think back enough, I think a lot of the solutions are clear. And to see that in a game that's so early was still really impressive to me.
I mean, a lot of these games of this era, and I would include Full Throttle and Grim Fandango in this, have solutions that in the moment the logic seems insane, but when you look back on it, it sort of makes sense in retrospect. It's a very specific kind of game logic that I think you won't really grasp until you've played a couple of these and sort of know how they run. But I don't think that Secret of Monkey Island was too unfair ever. Like again, some of the puzzle solutions were a little bit weird or ultra specific, and I didn't want to spend the time just clicking everything with everything else to find those solutions. But I had fun. I mean, this game absolutely is full of charm. A lot of the puzzle ideas, while maybe frustrating in the moment, are really are sort of adorably clever. It's a very funny game. There's a lot of amusing dialogue. Like some of the jokes are maybe a little corny in 2022, but I almost think of like them being like the 1990 versions of a game that's sort of full of meme style jokes. But like they're better than meme style jokes. But like if people like this were making a game like this in 2022, it would be full of memes. But no, these are genuinely funny people with creative game ideas and great dialogue, and it all sort of came together for a highly entertaining game. I did need to use a guide multiple times, but my total playtime was I think around 7 hours. But it would have been, if you're speed running this, I'm sure someone can do it in 3 or way faster. Especially if you don't do like I did and have to call the shopkeeper to lead you to the swordmaster's house 4 times.
That does tend to add a little bit of time to it.
3 times for sword fights and a 4th time to recruit her to the team.
Look, he's getting older. Okay, he can't get there super quickly.
But no, this was an absolute blast. I'm glad I finally played it, and I am now definitely interested in my copy of Monkey Island 2 that has been sitting in my Steam library for a while.
Yay!
Monkey Island 2 is probably my favorite one in the series. It does. I mean, it's a perfect sequel in so many ways. But one thing I will warn you about, Sollosi, is that the adventure game logic that you were talking about earlier goes to insane lengths in this game.
I'm going to have my phone open to a guide at all times.
Do you want me to? Can I just spoil a puzzle for you?
Sure.
Because it's the most frustrating puzzle in the game, which is insane. There is a monkey playing a piano at some point.
Okay, great.
You need to put a banana on the metronome to hypnotize the monkey in the form of him playing the piano. Take the monkey, put him in your inventory, and then use the monkey as a monkey wrench to turn off the flow of water at a waterfall.
But of course.
Of course. Yes.
Yes.
You didn't need to spoil that for me. I would have figured that out on my own and understood every step in the process immediately.
I think adventure game logic is highly dependent on the style of the game. You really need to get into the mindset and the sense of humor or general presentation of an adventure game in order to sometimes make sense of the logic. And Monkey Island has a very specific way of looking at the world. It's similar in many ways, like Day of the Tentacle, for example. To solve many of the puzzles in that game, the puzzles make sense, but only if you put yourself in the mindset of a cartoon, like a Warner Brothers style cartoon from like the 1940s.
Sure.
Or if Sam and Max, you need to put yourself in the mindset of a sociopath.
One question, though. This piano-playing hypnotized monkey, how many heads does it have?
Only one.
All right.
But you will see maybe some three-headed monkeys in future entries of the series.
Oh, I saw a three-headed monkey in this entry of the series, so when you're escaping from the cannibals, you can even tell them, "Hey, look, a three-headed monkey," which is maybe the third or fourth three-headed monkey joke you find in this game. And then what happens when you finally leave the village for the last time? There's an actual three-headed monkey. This game sets up so much and pays off most of it, which is very impressive.
Impressive continuity, yeah.
Speaking of impressive continuity, for those who are listening, Return to Monkey Island was recently released. This is I'm not gonna go into detail here because we're running out of time, but Return to Monkey Island is Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman returning to Monkey Island for the first time since Monkey Island 2. For years, he was saying that he didn't agree with the direction that other people in LucasArts took the Monkey Island series with Curse of Monkey Island. Like, he had very defined opinions about where the series should go. And he wishes that he could come back and do his version of Monkey Island 3. And that's not what this is. Instead, he took everything that happened before. Everything is in continuity. Sort of. It's a loose continuity because it's Monkey Island. But like, he didn't ignore anything that came before. He took the best bits of all of the games and sort of distilled them into this very modern experience with a refined point-and-click interface. The actors, they're all back. Dominic is back as Guybrush again. And it really does push the series forward in a way that hasn't really been there since Monkey Island 2. It's honestly one of the most special games I've played in recent memory, just because it's not just a payoff to many of the jokes and references from the other series. It's a payoff to many of the themes and how Guybrush's overall journey that he took through the first two games and beyond. If you've played these games and you haven't played, there's 5 of them so far. Ignoring that, there's Secret of Monkey Island, LeChuck's Revenge, Monkey Island 2, The Curse of Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island, and the Telltale adventure game episodic series Tales of Monkey Island. If you want to play Return to Monkey Island, I would highly recommend you play the second and third game of the series. So play LeChuck's Revenge and Curse of Monkey Island. You don't have to play Escape, and you don't have to play the Telltale games. The Telltale games are good. Escape has some interface problems, but like, the whole series is worth playing. But if you really want to get the most out of Return to Monkey Island, play the first 3 games. It's a really good sequel. It's a really, I'm not going to lie, the ending of it is still with me because it ends in a very Gilbert fashion. I recommend it. I wrote a review for it. The review probably will be up by the time this podcast goes up as well. So, and if not, it will be shortly thereafter. So yeah, if you're curious about the Return of Monkey Island, I highly recommend it. It looks, sounds, and plays incredible. It's a brilliant resolution to everything that was introduced in this and all of the other games in the series. Really highly recommend it. Anyway, so that is the end of our first part of Adventure Game Month. We have other parts coming up soon. So next week, we are coming at you with a, what's the order, Sollosi?
Secret of Monkey Island, then The Wolf Among Us, then Broken Age, and then The Quarry. So it's going to be Gilbert, Wolves, Schaefer, Wolves.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it. So yeah, we're going to have a nice mix. So Wolf Among Us is a Telltale adventure game episodic series, one of the types that was very popular a few years ago before Telltale went under. They're back now, but before they went under, it's based on the Fables comic book series, which is an amazing comic book series. And then Broken Age is a return of adventure games, classic adventure games from Tim Schafer, the creator of, actually one of the writers of the dialogue in Secret of Monkey Island and the creator of Day of the Tentacle and many, many other famous adventure games. And then The Quarry, which is a cinematic adventure, which is very different from point-and-click adventure games, but is still in the adventure game genre. So we have something for everybody coming up.
Yeah, and The Quarry was our choice for the last one because that episode is going to air a couple days before Halloween, and it's in the Supermassive Games oeuvre of cinematic adventure games, which has been a moderately successful horror revival of the 2010s. And Peter and I played a couple Supermassive games for the podcast before. A couple of years ago we played Until Dawn, and earlier this year we played Little Hope. So this is sort of a part 3 of the Sollosi and Peter Play Horror Adventures miniseries, and also is capping off our Autumn of Adventure for 2022.
It's good that we're representing horror adventure somewhere here too, and yay Halloween.
Oh yeah, there's some great horror adventure games out there. I think some of the best horror adventure games I ever played were actually indie freeware games from Yahtzee, the guy who does Zero Punctuation.
Oh yeah, Ben Croshaw. He's developed a couple horror games over the years. That's right. Yeah,
his horror games are actually pretty damn scary. They're really great at point-and-click adventure games too, but they're pretty solid. Anyway, so if you enjoyed this episode and you want to email us some of your thoughts, or you have ideas for future episodes, anything like that, please send us an email here at retro@rpgfan.com, or you can comment on the boards. You can visit our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, Discord. We have Twitch streaming every day here at RPG Fan. We also have 2 other podcasts here at RPG Fan, one of which is Random Encounter, and I am the host of Random Encounter. It's bi-weekly, every second Monday. We talk about news, current features, and reviews that are up on the site. So basically anything that's currently going on is what we do at Random Encounter. We also occasionally do book reviews for video game books. And Hilary and I have one of those coming up, and we are pretty excited for it, for another episode of Random Book Club. We also have Rhythm Encounter, which is RPG Fan's music podcast, hosted by our fearless leader, Mike Salvato, and Hilary. What was the last episode that we did there?
Probably the Wild Hearts episode from the end of September.
Yeah, so that is the next one that's going to be releasing as of this recording.
Yep, so that's going to be Wild Arms and Shadow Hearts.
Yep, to spotlight the recent Kickstarter. It was a really fun episode to do.
Some great music there, too.
Oh, we're going to talk about some future episodes of Rhythm?
Yeah.
I know one of them because we've already planned out some of the selections for it.
What is the episode?
In advance of Halloween, we're going to have a Rhythm Encounter episode that is all Castlevania all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, so coming up for Rhythm, we have a composer episode in the works that's Masafumi Takada. And then we have Castlevania to also kind of celebrate spooky things and Halloween. And then it looks like after that, we're doing another series episode with Pokemon.
Gotta catch all the songs.
And
you know, I mean, while we're previewing future episodes, I don't mind saying this because we're into October by now. We have November all planned out too for Retro Encounter, Jono.
Oh God, do we ever?
We have episode 350, which is going to be a special surprise. We have not quite recorded that yet. But then the rest of November is to fit along with N7. We're going to do 3 episodes on the Mass Effect trilogy,
which is super exciting. We've been playing through the Mass Effect games. I played through all 3 for the first time, and I just love them.
I played all through. I played through all 3 of them for the first time since 2012. And it has been a total delight going back to them. I haven't finished my Mass Effect 3 run yet because that episode's not going to be for over a month. But Mass Effect 1 and 2 were absolute joys.
Yep. And I mean, the episodes, we already know how they're going to go, right? First one's going to be good. Second one's going to be great. Third one's going to be great. But then we're just going to totally fumble the ending of the episode.
Yeah, it's always the dark middle chapter that's the best in a podcast series.
Yep. That's what I feel.
The encounter strikes back, as it were.
And I mean, those are some great podcasts, but we're here at Retro Encounter. So if you want to, you can stop on iTunes, Google Play, whatever your podcast listening venue of choice is, and you can review us. We love some feedback. You can find us on Twitter. Most social media is at RPGFan.com and RPGFan pretty much everywhere else. And, well, I would like to thank both of you for joining me today. Sollosi, thank you for allowing me to host this episode. I love Monkey Island, so it really meant a lot to me that I got to host this. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay.
I mean, when we picked this game for the podcast, you were the absolute natural fit. And
no question.
For as a super fan of this game, but I wanted to be on the panel still to share my first experience with it as well.
I'm really glad you were. And Hilary, always a pleasure to talk about adventure games with you, and I really look forward to doing it 2 more times this month.
Yep, I know. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
And to everyone out there who has listened to us, good night and good luck.